Hey, so I want to give a bit of a behind-the-scenes look and a progress report on Novus Bestiary. Novus Bestiary is a weekly newsletter you can subscribe to learn about fantastic beasts. And what I'm doing with this project is evolving it from just a newsletter into a full-on website with all sorts of cool stuff. So where I began was with a project that looked something like this. Most of these folders weren't here at the beginning of last week. What I had really was this folder called data. And so each week when I write about a monster, I create a new folder for the creature, and I write the newsletter in a markdown file. So here's a look at something I wrote about the basilisk. Now, markdown is a really simple way to write content which can be converted into HTML. So what I do is I write the articles in Markdown, I convert that Markdown into HTML, and then I plug that HTML into MailChimp to create the final newsletter that I send. All of this stuff is done with Node.js scripts that I write for each purpose. So to change things into HTML, I run this script called convert. So I'll say like convert basilisk, and then that's done. And so it creates this HTML file in the same folder, and then here it is now, formatted properly for MailChimp. Cool. So that's where I started. A big folder full of Markdown files and a script that could convert Markdown into HTML. So one thing I did to start was I started to convert this project into a Next.js project. Next.js is a framework you can use to create websites with React. Now, originally I was hoping to not do this. I was thinking I could just create something really simple that just used the generated HTML files to build the web app, sort of like a static site generator. But what I quickly realized was I would probably need some sort of reusable UI components to do the navigation system and other parts of the web app. And so there are lots of downsides to using something like React, so it still feels like maybe it's too heavy-handed of an approach here. But the reason that I decided to go ahead with it was so that I could leverage my knowledge about this framework. So not only do I already know React from work, I also am going to be using React with Next.js for my other project I'm working on the side. So by choosing the same technology stack for each project, I'm hoping to sort of get like a compounding benefit there and be able to work faster. So that's like really the reason I went ahead with Next.js. Now, the next big decision was like, how can I get my data into a format that Next.js would work with? And so the typical approach is like Next.js needs you to just have JSX files in this pages folder. And then like, here's a simple one for my homepage. Like, once that's here, it'll just know that this page has, it'll know how to load the JSX at that page. Like, I have this running, I think, here. Yeah. So it's just loading the JSX from index here to get the homepage. So the normal solution here, I think, would be to use their router to do like some dynamic routing. So I would be able to say, you know, if I hit this thing like the name of the creature, basilisk, Next.js should be able to give me that handle basilisk, and then I should be able to go get the data somehow. So to do that, you just kind of give it this like weird syntax where you say like use these square braces, something like this. And then in this file, you can pull the creature name variable from the route. And so normally this is how you would build a page template, use the router data to fetch the creature in this case, and then plug it in. Now, the reason I decided not to do this is because this would typically work with some sort of API. So in order to serve the data for each creature, I would need to then go over here and develop like an API that I can talk to get the data. Now, that's something I still might do in the future, I'm not sure. But I felt like I was so close already with my scripts just converting Markdown into HTML that the extra energy and design required to build an API felt like too much work to start with. So I decided not to do that. And what I did instead was I'm basically hand building like a very dumb, very simple static site generator. So you'll see here I have a file called amabi, which is one of the creatures that I have data on. So what I did was I started adding new scripts. So I've now created this publish script, and this is basically what I accomplished last week. And so what the publish script does, it's pretty straightforward. I'm at like 67 lines of code so far. It will process the Markdown file and then combine it with a template I created. So I have this templates folder, and I have one for the creature page. So the creature page templates are in JSX. So the publish script will go bring in the Markdown, convert it to HTML, and then plug it into this template. And you can see I used this syntax I made up called like with underscores. So here's where the creature name can go. Here's where the content from the Markdown file goes. This also seems like a weird choice. What you would normally do here is use some sort of templating engine. So I started looking into those and considering it. But what I was not into was, first of all, I would have to learn some templating engine and have this new dependency in the project. But in addition, I would have this like some sort of syntax, like usually it's like curly braces or something. And then I get this weird problem where I find it gets hard to read, like what's JSX code here and what's my templating code. Now I know there's ways you can change your templating engine and customize it sometimes to avoid that, but I thought, why don't I just try and see how this would work with no dependency, no templating engine. So I made up this syntax because I can just write it and it's valid JSX, and my text editor can handle this and do great syntax highlighting and all of that. And then really I just like wrote like a regex, and it just like looks for that special key and subs in the content. So it's really dumb, but it's working. It's working perfectly. So let's try. Here, I'll convert I'll publish Basilisk. And you can see now I have a new file called Basilisk here. And the script has successfully put everything in place. It looks really nice because at the end of my publish script, I call out to Prettier, which is a code formatting tool. So it all comes in looking nice, and it's a file I can just look at and understand. And then I now have a page working here. And this is where the creature pages are at right now. Super ugly. I haven't done any styling yet really, except for this really crude grid, so I could show you kind of how it's going to look. So not much yet, but my really dumb hand-rolled templating system combined with Markdown and Next.js seems to be working okay. I suspect as the project grows and grows and becomes more complex, I might have to revisit some of those decisions later. But I think for the first thing I want to release, it'll work. And then here's like a really, really crude sketch that might give you a better idea of what I'll be aiming for on the creature pages. We'll have some imagery. We'll have these really cool headers with that sort of old school bestiary, like capital letter iconography. We'll have some like notes and things in the sidebar, and then there'll be different navigation systems you can use to explore the beasts across the bestiary. So this is where I'm at. That was week 1. Next week I'll be focusing more on design. So thinking through what exact features I want to get done, what might go on the homepage, and what some of the user flows through this thing should be. And then from that design thinking, I should be able to start on like actually styling this thing a little bit and getting like what I'm hoping to get done is a prototype that's a non-final design, which I can then work with a designer on to really polish and make it look amazing. So stay tuned. I'm going to try and release an update like this once a week if you're interested in my thinking behind the bestiary and some of the technical choices I'm making. Thanks for watching.